Hey GAWDA members, welcome to the March episode of GAWDA TV. It's finally starting to feel like spring and the GAWDA calendar is starting to heat up. We're less than 2 months away from this year's Spring Management Conference in San Antonio and less than 3 weeks away from this year's first regional meeting in the Southeast. Hear more from 2 of the Southeast Regional Meetings chairs later this episode. Joining us first today is CGA President and CEO Rich Gottwald. Rich, we appreciate you joining us today. You wrote an article for the Q1 issue of Welding Gases Today, which is online now and can be accessed using the link in the description below. In that article, you discussed that the CGA had embarked on a mission to protect carbon dioxide. For those who haven't read the article yet, can you explain what you meant by that?
Sure, Steve. So, as we in the industry all know, carbon dioxide has historically had, ups and downs in its availability, and that's impacted by things like, time of year, based on demand, seasonality, that sort of thing, and the availability of CO2 goes up and down, or if a supply tends to go out for maintenance or something. Well, added to those issues now are policies that are being passed at the federal and state level sometimes that is looking to reduce, actually it's all around greenhouse gas and global warming. The goal is CO2 is the number one global warming gas that we have. And the goal is to reduce emissions of CO2. But we also know that CO2 is used in all these really important consumer applications. And what's happening with these policies is that in the efforts to decarbonize, CO2 in these applications are getting caught up in that, and the supply is being impacted by that.
Part of the way that the CGA is helping to protect CO2 is by launching the CO2 Solutions Coalition. Can you explain what the coalition is and what its main goals are?
Yeah, so we launched the CO2 Coalition last year. And the goal is to bring together the complete supply chain, the suppliers of CO2, the end users of CO2, whether they be beverage or food or medical industries, and to bring us all together so that we can help to try to solve or find solutions to this problem. There's several goals. Number one goal is to educate. And when I say educate, it's really to educate policymakers. As I said, policymakers are passing policies that are impacting the supply chain. So many people don't even understand that CO2 is used in any application. All we read about is greenhouse gases in the newspaper when we see it on TV today. We need to educate, first and foremost, that CO2 plays a critical part in society today in all these different applications. So that's number one. Number two is to look at policies that are being passed and to try to change those policies or impact those policies so that our products are either not impacted or at least are neutral in some of these policies that are being passed. So that's really 2 goals: educate, number one, and then to impact policies that will affect the industry.
You mentioned policies and legislation, that one of the goals of the coalition is advocacy. What are the kind of things that you're advocating for, and what are your legislative priorities?
Well, so not to go too deep into the details, but there's something called 45Q, which is part of the IRS tax code. And 45Q is intended to help companies decarbonize their emissions. So it was really focused on industrial emissions. As an example, a company, let's say a company that might be putting CO2 up into the atmosphere as a result of manufacturing or something they're doing, they will now be incentivized to take that CO2 and to sequester it, to capture it and to put it in the ground so it's no longer it's no longer part of their emissions. And they're going to be incentivized to the tune of $85 a ton. So any company, they will get paid $85 a ton to sequester the CO2 into the ground, which is a good thing. When you look at utilization, our members, CGA members, collect CO2 from a bunch of different industrial applications. Let's say ethanol plants. CO2 suppliers will go to that ethanol plant. They'll capture the CO2 coming off of it. They'll take it, they'll clean it up a bit, they'll liquefy it, and then they'll sell it into the markets that the GAWDA members work in. And that's called utilization. The government is also incentivizing utilization, recognizing that these are really good uses for CO2, but they're only being incentivized to the tune of $60 a ton. So there's a differential. $60 a ton if you use it, $85 if you put it in the ground. Doesn't take a genius to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to put it in the ground and get more money. So what we're advocating for is something called parity. We believe that the 45Q tax credit should have parity between utilization, which the government has said is a very valid use of a reuse of CO2, and sequestration. And so we're working, there's a bill on the Hill right now that has a couple of co-signers from the Senate side, and we're working to gain support for that bill and to change 45Q.
How can GAWDA members support the CO2 Solutions Coalition's efforts?
So first of all, GAWDA is a member of the CO2 Solutions Coalition. So thank you to GAWDA and to the members. And so what GAWDA members can do is to share those stories, reach out to us, share their stories with us, get involved with the coalition's efforts. When we go to the Hill and we lobby on the Hill, because that's basically what we're doing and trying to get support for the Parity Act, what really gets a member of Congress's attention is if there's a business or voters in that person's district that has an interest in the issue. So if we know that a GAWDA member has a large facility or a number of facilities in a certain state, and we want to get that particular member of Congress or that senator to support this bill, it will be really helpful to have that GAWDA member as part of that discussion to say, hey, look, I employ 25 people or 100 people, or we have 3 facilities within this particular area. That will go a long way in helping us, helping our message resonate with that member of Congress. So those members of GAWDA should, reach out to me or reach out to Rick Schweitzer, who is representing GAWDA on the coalition, to make sure that their voices can be part of this coalition.
Switching gears a little bit away from CO2, but staying in the regulatory realm, the CGA recently urged a delay in the sale of the Federal Helium Reserve. Can you give us some background on this topic and the CGA's position on it?
So helium is a really important gas in our industry, and it's an important part of the business. For many years, the U.S. government has had a reserve of helium called the Federal Helium Reserve out in Amarillo, Texas, and it contains several billion cubic feet of helium. And it really dates back to the time of airships, when helium and hydrogen and different gases were used in airships. And certainly those ships are not around anymore, but the government maintained and continued to maintain this helium reserve and can continue to add to it. They have been mandated by Congress, the government, the Federal Helium Reserve, to get out of the helium business and to privatize the facility. And we completely support the privatization of the helium reserve. However, there are a number of issues with that reserve, maintenance issues, rights of way. This reserve extends through 3 states, 400 miles of pipeline. There are a number of regulatory environmental concerns around that. We're concerned that when the government sells this to a private owner, the system will have to shut down for the private owner to comply as a private entity with all of these myriad requirements, and to bring the system up to really, I'll say, better operating conditions in terms of maintenance and that sort of thing. And we believe that the system will need to shut down for, a year, 18 months, maybe 2 years. This one facility supplies upwards of 20% of all the helium in the United States. So if it has to shut down, it's going to significantly impact the supply chain of helium in the U.S. So our position has been, before the government sells it, take care of all these issues. We have met with the White House. We were at the White House about 2 months ago, in which we talked about this issue. We gave them a list of all the issues that we felt would be necessary to fix, so to speak, to address before the system is sold. We think the government should address those issues and then privatize it. So it's a seamless transition from the government to private entity.
Obviously, we've covered a lot of ground here today, but is there anything else that the CGA is working on now that you want to leave viewers with before we go today?
I have to mention hydrogen. Hydrogen is a really big issue for the industry, and it's becoming a big issue, particularly in CGA right now. but eventually it will become a big issue and a big opportunity for GAWDA members. As we look to move away from carbon-based fuels like oil and gas, there's a lot of focus on hydrogen. Hydrogen does not have carbon in it, and it's now being looked upon as an energy carrier. And what CGA is doing is working with a number of different groups out there to write the standards and how you safely move it around, how you store it, how you put it into applications, how you use it. Those standards are going to be incredibly important as hydrogen begins to be used for things like fueling automobiles or heating homes or using an energy for steel plants or making cement or other types of products. And there will be a role for GAWDA members in delivering hydrogen in the future to many of these applications. So what we're doing today is setting the stage for the standards, many of the safety standards that will regulate this product as it moves forward and it becomes a bigger part of society. So, GAWDA may not be seeing the impact of that today, but trust me, it is coming down the pike, and it's coming quickly.
Rich, thank you so much for the insight. We really appreciate it. Again, to learn more about the CO2 Solutions Coalition, or what other GAWDA members expect to see as emerging trends this year, read the full Q1 issue of Welding Gases Today using the link in the description below. We've got a great show lined up for you today, so stick around right after a word from today's presenting sponsor, Weldcoa.
If your process requires a large volume of gas, cryogenic liquid, or supercritical fluid, we can automate it. Weldcoa engineers advanced systems that fully automate the connection between the bulk liquid supply and the application at hand. We have a proven history of designing custom systems for extractor units, CNC machines, vessel pressure testing systems, refueling systems, and more. If your process involves controlling gases, we can help. We are Weldcoa, your engineered gas control process experts.
This year's Spring Management Conference will take place in San Antonio at the beautiful Grand Hyatt San Antonio Riverwalk from April 19th to the 21st. Today's SMC update is brought to you by ITW Welding. During this year's SMC, ITW Welding and Miller Electric's Dave Lambert and Sharon Safransky will give a general sessions presentation on April 21st, and Dave Lambert will also give an educational session presentation on April 20th. During the 2023 GAWDA Annual Convention in Maui, GAWDA's Industry Partnering Committee unveiled a new initiative for GAWDA's Contact Booth program called the Best in Show Award. Joining us next today to discuss the Best in Show Award, which will debut during the Contact Booth program at this year's SMC, are IPC co-chairs Justin Johnson and Terry Scanlan. Gentlemen, we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Steve. Great to see you as well. It's can't believe that we're quickly coming up upon the 2024 SMC in San Antonio. As a supplier, we're hard at work getting ready for the event. A lot of preparation is going into it. But as you recall, my partner in crime, Justin, and I, along with the IPC, pulled together a new program that we'd like to introduce in San Antonio. We talked a little bit about it in Maui, for those who had the opportunity to be there. And that is, we're introducing the Best in Show concept. This is something that is targeted to the suppliers who will be having an exhibit booth during the Contact Booth program. And the intent of the program and award is to identify best practices. It's really to look at just a fine group of suppliers that participate in GAWDA and look and say, all right, who really does exceed expectations? Who is really showing something as professional, profound, and engaging with the customers? So this year, we are happy to introduce the first GAWDA Best in Show Award. That will be something that Justin and I'm sure our president, Gary Halter, will be presenting on the last day of the show. We'll work through those details between now and then.
Obviously, the concept was introduced in Maui, but this was something that the IPC had been discussing for some time. Can you take us inside baseball a little bit to discuss how the concept was developed and fine-tuned before being rolled out to the membership?
Justin and I are very fortunate that we have a fantastic committee made up of both distributors and suppliers. And one of the things that we have talked about is how do we make our contact booth program even better than it is? And we'll start by saying we think it's first in class, it's best of the best. But there's always opportunities for improvement. One of the things that we thought of is that for new vendors who are participating in the GAWDA contact booth program for the first time, or maybe it's only the second or third time, is they're not used to participating in such a large event. What we'd like to do is we'd like to identify vendors that have done a really good job in terms of customer engagement, appearance of their booth, and just an overall sense of they are prepared, they have the right material, and they're fully engaged with the customers. We like to show that to all our vendors and say, hey, this is something that we think we can aspire to.
Accompanying the announcement of the award was a fun do's and don'ts videos that explained some best practices for the contact booths. Without giving away too much, can you explain how the IPC will determine who the best in show is?
So, very broadly, looking at three things. One is branding. So how well is your message, your company name, how well is that being seen and understood by your customers and potential customers? Secondly, customer engagement. So how well is your team engaging with the opportunities, the people that are walking by your booth? And then thirdly, your overall appearance of the booth. So that really, it means professionalism. It means being prepared. In fact, what does it mean? It really means that you respect the time of the people that are coming by and visiting your booth.
Terry, as this is a new program, can you give us a little insight as to when it will run and who will be the ultimate arbiters of who was the best in show?
So something that Justin and I talked about quite a bit with amongst ourselves and as well as with the members and GAWDA staff was, how do we judge this program? So who's going to do the judges? And something that we felt really, really strongly about is that it needs to be made up of our peers. So those peers would be suppliers and distributors, as well as GAWDA staff. They're always at these programs, and they quite honestly see from their perspective what works and what doesn't work. So for this first program, we're going to have 3 members of the IPC to be selected, and then 3 members of the GAWDA staff will also participate. So we'll have a total of 6 judges who will be walking through the show. And then after the show, they'll get together, they'll discuss their nominations, and it'll come to a decision on best in show. Pretty simple and straightforward.
With 140 or more exhibitors at the Contact Booth program, there's a nice mix of large, medium, and small suppliers. For those smaller exhibitors who might not have the money or the manpower to have a huge flashy booth, do you have a message for them on how they will be considered for the award against some of the bigger booths?
Yeah, I think it has less to do about size and more to do about effort, right? So we're looking for suppliers that are focusing on the key, parameters that we've set for the contact booth, that the contact booth program has in general, about putting your best foot forward and being being presentable and engaging, as Terry has said, and representing your brand and everything that comes with that. And whether you have unlimited resources or scarce resources, I think the effort towards that process will be seen, again, regardless of size amongst the suppliers.
Justin, as a distributor who's attended a lot of these in the past, you've seen a lot of booths. You've seen the good and you've seen the bad. Are there things that stick out in your mind that you've seen in the past that you really like or don't like as an attendee?
The easy part of the contact booth is always, coming to see suppliers that I currently buy from, that I have relationships with, and look forward to meeting with them, both at the SMC and the annual convention. But what I really get excited about is learning about what I don't know and suppliers that I don't know. And so expanding off of our 360 program, this contact, working with the contact booth, I'm looking for, suppliers that are educated on their products, that are engaging, that are professional, and that approach the conversations with the distributors in a respectful manner with their time. All of those things I'm looking for in potential suppliers to talk to as my way around the booth. Certainly those suppliers that I don't have a relationship with currently.
Aside from the Best in Show program, is there anything else that the committee has going on that you want to highlight?
I'm really excited to help Terry and work with him side by side on this terrific Best in Show program. Our committee is top notch, second to none. And when we get together collectively, whether that's an online call across the year or in person at one of these annual meetings, we're constantly collaborating. We're constantly trying to bring new ideas to the table to just really bring suppliers and distributors together in so many different facets and be creative. We're always working on year-round our 360 program and what can be done differently with that, or so that it never becomes stale, right? Even though it's a new program. Between those two, leading programs, between that one and the Best in Show, those are taking up a lot of our time. We're doing things like promoting, excellence in welding through the AWS. We do that on an annual basis as well. But outside of collaboration and new ideas that we're always trying to throw on the tables, these two programs have been our focus for 2024.
Gentlemen, it sounds like it's going to be a great program. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you, Steve. One final closing comment that I just want to throw out there is that, as I mentioned, we're constantly, collaborating in the IPC. We have a tremendous committee. But I would welcome the entire GAWDA organization to provide us feedback as a committee on how they like these programs that we're putting together. We're always looking for new ideas. We're always looking for new concepts to keep things fresh within these GAWDA programs. But please provide us feedback on how you think things you'd like to see differently, or how we can improve the contact booth program, or any other programs that we're running across the year. All feedback is welcome, and we appreciate everyone's time today.
We look forward to seeing the first ever Best in Show award during this year's SMC, and we hope that this will become an annual staple during the Spring Management Conference. As we talked about in the introduction, this year's GAWDA regional meeting schedule kicks off in just 3 weeks, as the Southeast Regional Meeting will take place on March 18th and 19th in Marietta, Georgia. Joining us next today are two of the event's 3 regional chairs, Linda Smith and Rafael Arvelo. Linda and Rafael, we really appreciate your time today. This is the first time that GAWDA is hosting a Southeast Regional Meeting in quite some time. Can you explain how the event came together?
Well, GAWDA in the past years, we used to have 6, 7, 8 regional meetings, and not being able to have everybody on the Southeast was kind of painful, especially when Linda, Britt, and we are located in the Southeast of the U.S. So even though in my case, I joined pretty much all the regional meetings, we were definitely missing the Southeast. And that's when Linda pretty much has been pushing this first meeting. And we also have something kind of already set up for the following year as well. Linda?
That's exactly, we've been talking for a couple years about reinstating the Southeastern meeting. Before this, during my time, it was in Birmingham and the Biloxi area. They would switch back and forth, but it's been 4 or 5 years since we've had one in the Southeast, and we just thought it was time.
So not only did you get on the schedule, you're actually the first regional meeting of the year. GAWDA is known for its networking opportunities, especially during the national conferences, but what would you say is the advantage of attending the more intimate regional meetings?
I would say that you get more of a variety of attendees, especially on the distributor side. Typically, the upper management or company owners go to the national GAWDA meetings, but the regional meetings, you get a lot of the middle managers, store managers, regional sales people. So I think it opens it up to a broader range of attendees.
Agree 100% with Linda. In our case, we love the regional because you see the local people, and especially in our case, we love to talk to the cryogenic technicians, the gas technicians, the filling plant managers, the operation managers. So it is completely different on what you see in any of the annual, such the SMC or the annual.
You've got a really great and diverse lineup of speakers for the regional. Can you talk about the educational opportunities that attendees will have?
Yes, so our keynote speaker is Jill Ivanko from Chart. We're very, very excited that she was available. She just is going to give us such a great overview of the gases and welding industry, where we are right now and where we're headed. Was also very excited to be able to recruit somebody from the University of Georgia, my alma mater, go Dogs. I was told that one of Gary Halter, our current GAWDA president's topics this year was going to be AI, or artificial intelligence. So I did a lot of research. I don't really know a lot about that topic, and I was very happy to be able to recruit Drew Tonsmeyer. He is the area director of the University of Georgia Small Business Development Office in the Atlanta area. And not only is he going to tell us about AI, and I believe the name of his speech is AI, Are You Ready? But kind of what's available now, and are we ready for this technology to come into our business? But I was also very pleasantly surprised. I think this is going to be a huge benefit to all of our distributors and suppliers, is that the University of Georgia, this is a free service. And you can call up this small development office, and they will look at your website and tell you where it's lacking or where you need work. They will look at your business plan. They have got all kinds of free resources that I never even knew that was out there. And he's going to talk a little bit about that as well. And then our third speaker, Ryan Perry from Harris Products Group, and he is going to give us an overview of some of the future of alternative fuels, and how that is really a great money saver for our distributors, and how he sees that market emerging for the gases and welding industry. And then, of course, last but not least, Gary Halter, our current GAWDA president, is going to kick off our morning meeting with a GAWDA update of what we can expect from GAWDA this year, and all of our different meetings coming up, and all of the different offerings that GAWDA is going to give to its membership.
In addition to all the great educational opportunities, there are also some great networking opportunities as well, including some things to get those competitive juices flowing. You'll have a gentleman named John Rebel on hand. Can you explain what John will be doing with the group?
I am ready. Are you ready?
Yes, he is a corporate wellness coach, as well as a tennis and pickleball instructor. He is going to oversee our first ever, that I know of, GAWDA pickleball tournament. It's going to be really fun. And very casual. We're doing it in the parking lot of the hotel. We're going to tape off the courts. We have invited our sponsor vendors to do tailgate tents around the pickleball facility that we're going to create. And it's just going to be a really fun afternoon of learning how to play pickleball, or a little competition if you're already an experienced pickleball player. It is a great sport. If you are at all athletic, you can pick it up really, really quickly. And I feel like that's why it's one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now because it's just super fun.
So for those who do not know, well, this is a good time to start using some AI and learn about some pickleball.
Another interesting thing on the schedule is the Young Professionals and Industry Legends Mentoring Cocktail Hour. Can you tell us about that event?
So, and I actually forgot to say the young professionals are actually sponsoring the pickleball tournament as well. But yes, they reached out to me. They really feel like the regional meetings are a great place to try to grow their young professional membership rosters. And also it's a smaller attendance, so you really get more of a one-on-one with people. So we are asking some industry legends, that we're calling them, to attend this cocktail party so that they can meet one-on-one with our young professionals that will be attending. So we're very excited that they are really talking up our meeting among their young professional group.
You know, Steve, every regional meeting has their own magic. Ebony and in Seven Springs, you know, they have the skeet shooting and they have the bowling. On the Northeast, they have the go-karts. So here we're going to have the pickleball, we're going to have golf, and we're going to have lots of fun. So it's all about making new friends, networking, and of course, connecting to your favorite vendors, customers, and also it's always good to have some connection with your competition as well.
It sounds like it's going to be a great event. Do you have any last thoughts before we go today?
Our venue is really, really awesome. It is the Hilton Marietta Hotel and Conference Center in Marietta, Georgia. It is connected literally on the same property. It was the old Marietta Country Club, and they're calling it the Golf Club of Marietta now. But the building is beautiful. It overlooks the golf course. It's got a beautiful veranda. So weather permitting, we're going to have our opening cocktail party out on this veranda overlooking the golf course. And our restaurant also is this restaurant with big windows where we're going to do the dinner that overlooks the golf course. And it's all connected, so people don't have to get in their cars and drive to the golf course. It's all right there. And lastly, the night after golf, we've got the varsity food truck coming that is going to pull up right where the golf carts come in. And we're going to have a casual varsity meal with, of course, refreshments.
My last thing to say is if you haven't registered, well, hurry up. You got only 18 days left. So go ahead and sign up and we'll see you over there.
Linda and Raf, thank you so much for being with us today. We can't wait for the regional. If you're interested in attending this year's Southeast Regional meeting, click the link in the description below.
Gas distributors, tank repair shops, cryogenic techs. Live the Equigas experience and find out for yourself. Send us a picture and we'll help you identify what you really need. We have the equipment you need with the service you deserve. Make your life easier. Give us a call today. We answer the phone and ship the same day.
The last 3 episodes of GAWDA TV have featured interviews with GAWDA Member Services Committee member Colleen Kohler and Mississippi Welder Supply Company President Scott Myran discussing MWS Co.'s experience with GAWDA's consultants. Here with the finale of this series are Colleen and Scott discussing the company's experience with GAWDA's legal and HR consultant Rick Schweitzer.
And last but not least, Rick Schweitzer with legal. Have you had any experience with Rick?
We have. Our HR director regularly talks with Rick if she has questions. Again, GAWDA consultants are very, very timely with their responses. The responses are good. When she needs to prevail upon Rick for questions, the answers are there. I also listen to Rick very, very closely. He's involved with governmental affairs. He knows what's going on in Washington. He knows what's going on legislatively. He can point us in the direction of what may be coming down the road, what to avoid, what to look for. Again, Rick is a very knowledgeable, very humble, just another great consultant. So in my opinion, the 4 consultants that we use with GAWDA, they are irreplaceable. And I would encourage members, use them, call them, email them, do whatever you need to do. If you have questions, put it to them. You'll get answers, you'll get good answers, and you'll get them promptly.
A statistic that some may not know is that there's only a third of the GAWDA members currently using our GAWDA consultants. And after speaking with Scott, we have found that there's tremendous savings and improvements within his organization having used these GAWDA consultants. So could you speak a little bit more to what you think that benefit would be, or what the people who are not embracing the GAWDA consultants currently are missing out on?
I think my only comment there would be, you're paying your dues to GAWDA. You're a member of GAWDA. Be active and use the resources that are available to you. Honestly, I cannot put a price on what we get from the consultants every year. It is just a fabulous benefit. So if you're part of that 2/3 of GAWDA members who are not using the consultants, you are missing out on a huge benefit that you really, really need to throw yourself at.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today and to give all of this commentary to our listeners, because we find it very important to just give some meat on the bones of the real true importance of our consultants within our industry. And we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to our members, to speak to your experience.
Thank you, Colleen. I'm more than happy to, lend you my thoughts and opinions on this. Thank you very much.
To see the first 3 segments in the series, click the links in the description below. Thank you to all of GAWDA's consultants for providing this unbelievable member benefit, and a special thank you to Scott Myran for these enlightening testimonials. Hobart Institute of Welding Technology is excited to offer a 4-day Welding for the Non-Welder course. This course gives the non-welder a solid background and overview of the welding field, along with some hands-on experience with the major welding processes. It's ideal for purchasing agents, plant managers, manufacturers of welding products, distributor salespeople, supervisors, and more to gain an understanding of welding that will make them more proficient in a job that involves welding-related activities. Check out our website today for more information, or give us a call at 937-332-9500. Today's member news segment is brought to you by Anthony Welded Products. With carts, cradles, cages, and pallets, Anthony has a model for every purpose. Be sure to stop by the Anthony Welded Products booth during this year's Spring Management Conference to see the latest innovations from the company and speak with its knowledgeable staff. GAWDA Media is proud to introduce its first quarter issue of Welding and Gases Today, as well as the 2024 GAWDA Buyer's Guide. Links to both of these publications can be found in the description below, and print copies should be hitting desks in the next couple of weeks. In other industry news, ESOB and the American Welding Society awarded $60,000 in scholarships and launched a Future Fabricators program. GAWDA and the CGA hosted its 150 Years of Cylinder Valves webinar on February 14th. Norton announced that Sheremy Johnson will be its National Accounts Manager. FIBA Technologies appointed Dan Spalding as its new Parts Sales Manager. The 2024 IBDEA conference will take place in Las Vegas next week from March 7th to the 11th. The University of Innovative Distribution will take place from March 11th to the 14th at the JW Marriott in Indianapolis. Mass Bio and Middlesex Gases announced a new 7-year contract extending their partnership through 2030. Industrial Source acquired Adcoa Gases and Equipment. Alliance Distribution Partners welcomed Matt Parker as its Eastern Welding Regional Manager. NSARC announced that Jock Jones has become its Northwest USA District Sales Manager. Uniweld is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. Congratulations to Uniweld on this amazing milestone. United Abrasives announced that it had launched its new revamped website, which can be viewed by clicking the link in the description below. The Horton Group's Tony Hopkins was named one of the 2023 Agents of the Year by Insurance Journal. Congratulations to Tony on this tremendous honor. Airgas was named to Newsweek's list of the 2023 America's Greatest Workplace, as well as one of America's Greatest Workplaces for Diversity for 2024. And finally, the GAWDA Consultants will host an in-person professional compliance seminar from April 2nd to the 4th at Chart's Theodore, Alabama location. The event will be simulcast by webinar. To learn more about any of these member news items or to submit member news of your own, read the full March 1st GAWDA Connection in your email inbox today or by clicking the link in the description below. GAWDA Media is the go-to resource for news and information about the gases and welding industry. Through our wide variety of publication platforms, GAWDA Media keeps our members up to date on all of the most breaking news, emerging trends, and member events in the industry. Want to get your company's message seen? We have a quarterly print publication, a twice-monthly newsletter, an online buyer's guide, and a twice-monthly news show. If it's happening in gases and welding, it's happening on GAWDA Media. Want to learn more? Contact your GAWDA Media representative today. And that's our show for this month. If you're beginning to prepare for the SMC in San Antonio, don't forget that this year's President's Welcome Reception theme is a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll. We encourage attendees to dress as their favorite musician or wear a shirt representing their favorite band. And be on the lookout for a special music-related segment coming up from GAWDA's Member Services Committee in the next few weeks. As this year's spring and summer of networking begin to ramp up, we can't wait to see everyone in person again soon. This year's second quarter issue of Welding and Gases Today will be on-site during this year's SMC. It's a great opportunity to get your company's brand and message seen during one of the two biggest events of the year. If you're interested in advertising in that issue, contact your GAWDA Media representative today. Until then, for all of us here at GAWDA TV, this is Steve Guglielmo signing off.